had to use an emergency pan to collect all of that. Yep, that's green coolant. So let's go upstairs and see what we can do to find this leak. What I'm trying to do here is just give me a little bit more room so I can see what's under all this stuff. Using a few different color paints to mark these vacuum hoses so I remember where they go. I'm unplugging these. I want to be real careful not to break them. All this plastic is old. Okay, let me show you what I've found here. With that box gone, I can see right next to the starter. That's the starter, and that is the top of the transmission. Follow my light. Now you've got these heater hoses on top, and then just under that, this plastic housing. And then check out my mirror that shows you the underside of that plastic housing. That green right there is coolant. Okay, from the driver's side, I'm just trying to show you what we're doing here. Down there, that's the lower radiator hose. You can see it's got that band around it. Let's hop up over this air duct and we'll come back towards the engine. And you can see there's the clamp for it. That clamp goes into that plastic piece, that water neck, which is bolted there, and then comes all the way over to here, underneath the heater hoses. That's where our leak is. All right, well, Kitty wants to help me with the radiator. I'm just gonna remove the radiator cap here. And we'll give it a chance to breathe. And then we're gonna go down to the lower radiator hose. Let me zoom in on that. All right, this is just a really long hose pick. I'm just gonna put that down in there and see if I can pick that hose off of the radiator. It's just stuck. So what you need to do is get under it. See what I'm doing there? Just kind of get under it and break that seal between the rubber and the middle. Now, if you're wondering why I drained that radiator by pulling the hose, it's because the hose had to come off anyway. And if you don't mess with that petcock valve, you're guaranteed not to break it. There we go. Loosen that up. And we'll come back over top. Grab this one that you can see. You can't right now because my ratchet's in the way. And then we've got one on bottom. All right, so all three came loose. That's good. I've already taken this thermostat housing, turned it 90 degrees, and I think, oh yeah, that little pop of freedom right there. Let's see if I can keep it going. Twist, rotate, pull, twist, rotate, pull. Be careful about that tab that we unbolted from the head. Every time I twist that, that tab contacts the transmission or the starter down there. So I'm trying to be careful. Right now it's stuck on the starter. Wow, all right. So I didn't have to remove any of the heater hoses, but that is your thermostat housing. I can get you in there closer. You can have a look at that thermostat. See this right here? Just grabbing that gasket with the screwdriver. You can see the gasket was broken. And down here, let me show you, that's where the leak was. You can see all that coolant. We're in front of the car and just under it. That's the front catalytic converter. And there's your oil filter right there. In between the two, see that little bolt with a tube on the end of it? That's the block drain. I'm gonna go ahead and open that up with a 10 millimeter swivel on a long extension. All right, now I'm just gonna crack it open. There you go, see that? But I'm doing this because I want all of that green coolant to get out of the system. Passenger side of the car now, let's go underneath. I'll show you the engine block drain on this side. Okay, under this cross member, my light is posted right here on top of the axle. And then right here, that's the engine block drain for the right half of the engine, or the back of the car here. And there you go. It's draining just from up over here, right into my little baking pan. While the camera was off, I emptied the heater core. I just unplugged those heater hoses and I emptied those out, blew some air in them, and then I kind of washed top of this transmission off just to clean it off here. It looks about like the rest of the rubber on this car. It's just deteriorating, kind of falling apart. So there's no question in my mind that this little gasket was definitely the cause of the problem. That heater core had probably about 10-12 ounces of coolant in there, so I'm glad I got rid of that. Kind of got all over the shop floor here, but I cleaned that up in accordance with EPA regulations. This is the new thermostat. It's made by Eisen. Good quality unit, and the gasket from Mala. This thermostat doesn't come with a gasket. This gasket just fits around the edge of this thermostat, and it's got a jiggle pin, so just like the OEM, should work just fine. I got to do the little twist jig here to get this all in here. If I can remember how I got it out, that would help. But I don't. Having this heater hose out of the way is probably the best way to go. I've already had it off. But you know what? I'm just gonna make life for myself a little bit easier. I'm gonna call this the most difficult part of the job, just getting that thermostat housing back into its little home where it goes. Remember this guy? It's got that magnet in there. I don't know what I would do without this other than lose these nuts here. But this is gonna make it real easy. No problem at all. Now, of course, you want to torque this to factory specs. It's probably going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 foot-pounds. So don't go wild. This is a small 1/4-inch ratchet, and I'm choking up on it. I'm holding it here, so that limits how much torque I can apply to it. Okay, remember right over here we've got that bracket, and this little bolt needs to go in there to hold it in. Today I'm going to use an old throttle cable, mostly because the internet hates it when I do this. I'm just going to wrap it around there, just kind of go like this and work it off that way. Get your comments ready, but I like this because it really shreds that old dried stuff off of there pretty quick. And you can do it all the way around that outlet in one shot. Just a little bit of silicone right there on the water outlet so I can get the hose on there a little bit easier. This hose is a little bit too long. It's not actually the hose that's supposed to go on this car. They don't sell that hose anymore, so this is cut to fit. Let me grab a marker. So I'm going to cut right about there. The last piece. All right, just gonna fill up the coolant. I'll use this bucket for the coolant and the air lift to vacuum fill it. This coolant filler uses shop air through a venturi to pull all of the air out of the system, and then that vacuum in the system will pull coolant back into it. It's a great little tool. I've had it for years and I'm pretty happy with it. If you want to add one to your toolbox, I've left a link for it down below. This takes Toyota pink coolant. It's made by Eisen, so it's good stuff. Pretty simple system for filling coolant. The best part about it is that because it uses vacuum, all of the air will be pulled out of the system and we won't have any problems with air bubbles. If you've got air bubbles inside your system and you don't get them out, it could lead to overheating or your heater not working. Once the vacuum reaches 0, that means you're full, so it's still drawing in from the bucket. The flow stops, so we know that we're right at the top here. And I'm gonna fill the overflow also. I guess there's only one thing left to do, and that's to give this thing a test drive. Starts right up. Let's go check it for leaks. Well, that's a pretty easy job to do it yourself. Now, if you don't have a vacuum filler and you don't want to use it, you can just fill it like usual through your radiator and let the car warm up with the cap off. Some of it'll bubble out, but it'll also get those air bubbles out. Now, if you want to see some more Lexus content, I've added a Lexus playlist to the channel, and everything I do to this car will go in there. Click that and I'll see you there.